Hello, welcome to another episode of the Ninjutsu podcast. I'm your host, Don Rowley. Today is going to be a little different. Today we're going to examine things from the aspect of the symbol nin, which can mean endure, the verb in shinobu, to persevere, to endure. And that's kind of what we need in the modern day. Some of you might have read my ebook, Killer Chaos, Surviving the Crazy Years. And this is going to be a little bit like an extract from a lot of it. I'm basically doing this because right now immigration authorities are facing a lot of protests that have turned into riots in Los Angeles, and they are looking to maybe expand nationwide, if we're not lucky. Again, this is going to be about the LA situation, but it's going to be information about surviving riots and protests that turn violent, if there's a difference. So, again, more in my book, but first things, hello. Some people say the mountains are the best thing about Colorado. It's the people. That's the best thing. But still, even in places like Denver, you get riots. So, first thing, in order to really survive a riot, you need to do three things. First, observe, then prepare, then avoid. Okay, so observing and understanding the situation, that's what the ninja did, right? And so when you see something being organized, then be prepared, and if you know where to look, you can find out where these things are going to happen. Typically, if you go on social media, there's pages for very far left organizations that are complaining and organizing and encouraging people to show up at certain locations. Some of them are more hostile and crazy than others. But if you follow some of them, such as the Democratic Socialist America, you can get a sentiment and idea of where things are going to go on most of the time. And again, groups like DSA are big. There are other ones that are kind of fringe, smaller, that you can find because they share each other's stuff and they send, they like things. So you can follow the links, find out all the different fringe groups in your area and see what they're saying, their sentiment, where they're organizing protests. And yeah, of course, then you know where not to be. But it's more complicated than that. For one thing, there's people that will crash peaceful protests. People make fun of how all these protests turn violent. Well, sometimes, I don't know how much, it's against the will of the people organizing the protests. I've got a friend, he used to be a police officer until he retired, and he told me about being on riot duty or monitoring protests, and some groups will actually work with the police officers. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, we need to make a statement, so this person's going to lay out on the road. You can arrest him. It'll be only him or them, and they'll work with them. And sometimes it'll be, this guy's obviously, you see that guy over there? He's obviously just here to, mess it up with the police. We don't want him representing us. We're peaceful. Some of the organizations that put together these things, they're not like that. And even those that are they're crashed by people with bakalavas and bags full of frozen water to use as projectiles. So you never really know what you're going to get into. And in these times like right now, it's probably best just to avoid anything that's planned. But again, you got to prepare. Because a lot of times during these protests, people will take advantage that all the police are covering the riots, and they'll go down to the local Piggly Wiggly, Walmart or whatever, or Best Buy, and do a little looting. Do you want to be there when they're looting? And a lot of the people showing up to these loot centers, well, the police are occupied elsewhere, they might just decide to do some violence for whatever reason. Maybe they don't like the color of your skin, maybe they had a fight with their girlfriend, doesn't matter. A lot of times during looting, people get hurt. More so sometimes than even the protest that hasn't quite turned into a riot, but is diverting police attention. And then, that's preparing. Put aside something right now so that if something happens, you don't have to go out of the house. Or if you have to go to work, you don't have to stop on the way back. Right now, when people are planning protests, might be a good idea to top off the gas tank. Then, when things happen, go straight to work, come straight back, or stay inside. You still got internet access, you can still use your Xbox. Things aren't that bad. But again, hello.
Hi.
Things always have a potential to get worse. I would advise getting fire extinguishers and flashlights and things like that. There's never been a situation around me that's gone that bad, but I remember a few years ago, Texas had a cold snap that had never happened before, and they caught them flat-foot. Just because it's never happened doesn't mean it can't. And really, it's better to prepare for something like a blizzard or something like that and not need your gear than, be caught flat-footed. And that goes for mostly peaceful protests. So that's it. My big worry is that, again, the people organizing these protests out in Los Angeles are national organizations. So they're talking about, on the forums that I follow, on social media and such, about bringing it everywhere. Not just Los Angeles. If there's a major city near you, you'll probably see protests, and they will probably turn quite violent. Some of the things that I've been watching seem to be like, if they can overwhelm the government, hit everywhere all at once, then these alt-left groups that are driving this think that they can actually cause overthrow of the government. I don't believe them, but I can be just as dead from being firebombed because they're wrong than because they're right. So that's it. Start following social media pages of the alt-left organizing these types of things. Put aside stuff so that you don't have to leave the house for a short while. And then whenever you find out something's going on, avoid not only the protests themselves, but areas that might be hit. This is the age where social media can organize flash mobs to loot places. It's going to be hard to find out what's going on, but with the rise of things like Signal and WhatsApp, that really communication can't be traced, and more sophisticated ones. And sometimes these idiots even use things like Facebook Messenger that they can subpoena. But it's going to be a new world. Everything is changing. Life is not the way it was back when I was a kid. Communication is so much faster. Governments have been brought down because of movements started on social media. Well, you might not like it, but we have to live with it. So stay safe, keep your eyes open, and be prepared. See you next time. This is Don Rowley with the Ninjutsu podcast. Bye.